We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such.
Are you serious? Like, we at season 7? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seasons. Yeah, season 7. Magic number. If you know, you know. I'm not gonna go in depth with that, but yeah, this will be a very positive season. I don't know why and what's making me say that, but everything's changed. Everything is a lot different. I know the title you'll still see the podcast about sports and stuff, but yeah, I ain't gonna get no sports. I'm still, like I said, stuff is very fluctuating now. I found that the connection with things is to get people to talk, as well as me taking time to talk. So you'll notice it, especially when you hear the first few episodes of this season. But it's just about sitting down and just having good talk, good conversation. Pass the message. Y'all know they ain't going nowhere. If you know, you know. If you've been around for a while, you already know how we give it up. But just hang in there. The content's amazing. The moves are even more amazing. And just put yourself in the right headspace to get this information. So hope y'all enjoy. What's going on, y'all? How's everyone doing? Episode 372 of The Pass is here. I'm your host, BT, with yet another episode. And man, oh man, a lot. It's interesting because this week will probably be one of the first times that you'll actually get like some news as well as some actual solid stories. So I have quite a bit to share. And we're going like I said, I do have an actual article that I'm going to share and talk about, but I also have some personal stuff that I'm going to get into. This is an interesting show because one, this will be the first time that I have like my full 2 screens set up in a while, as well as the fact that I'm kind of doing my record from home, because normally I would, as many people know, I would reserve a room, make sure everything's quiet, try not to get any background noise. Here, my background noise is a little uncontrolled, but I think we'll be able to get it to work. And also, in me looking at the levels of the audio, it's like very eye-opening because of how it's set up right this second. So, and also I think the key thing with at least this episode is being aware of mic placement. So just stuff to think about or observe while recording. If I do decide to do these type of if I decide to do podcasts here, it'll be something for me to just be considerate of and be more aware of in the future. So yeah, I just wanted to get all that out of the way before we get into it. First up, this article came up within the last week. So as soon as I saw the article, I was like, we got to talk about it. Many of you all know that I'm a big Spotify guy. I listen to everything on Spotify, and I have an interesting split between Spotify and Apple Music. So what Apple did is, and I've shared this on the show before, but it's kind of relevant in looking at the bigger picture, is you have Apple Music, you have Apple Podcasts, then you have Apple TV. All of them were separated at one point. Have been separated over the last, couple months or couple years. Now it's more so like they're individual based apps. Like podcasts have always been like an app that no one really paid any attention to, but now podcasts get more attention because like I even have friends now who are like, I'm doing a podcast, but I want to be sure when my podcast goes live that it's on Apple Podcasts. So you have that correlation between those platforms in that regard. Case in point, it becomes more of an interesting conversation with Spotify, because Spotify, a lot of things are baked into Spotify. So, podcasts you can listen to, your music you can listen to. They're doing audiobooks. Like, there are different avenues and different options within Spotify. Before Spotify got to where it is now, Spotify had a program called Spotify Live. Spotify Live, when it first got a lot of big attention, it was intended to compete with Clubhouse, which many of you may or may not be aware. Clubhouse is a app that you pretty much are in rooms with different people about different topics, and it's a very open dialogue. The app has evolved tremendously overall, but now, like, I guess there was something that went on with with Clubhouse at one point, and a lot of people went over to Spotify Live. Spotify Live kind of got its attention for a little bit, and then you really didn't hear much about Spotify Live. Spotify Live was intended to be for like the sports-based avenue, but then that changed over time, and then everyone would just create rooms there or whatever. So Spotify has eliminated its live audio initiative. Spotify Live, as a music streaming giant, looks to slash costs and improve margins. The company, which began scaling back its live audio programming last year, confirmed the news in an email to customers late Tuesday afternoon, writing, "The Spotify Live app will shut down on April 30th, 2023. You can still join any rooms or artist events until then. We're excited to bring more live events to Spotify in the future. Stay tuned." Now, one thing about this that I personally will say, I think Spotify is working this up. Now, I'm going to have the article in the show notes, so I'll be sure that you all get a feel of what that's related to and what we're talking about there. But what I want to say about this story, or about this entire breakdown, because I didn't talk about this too much, and this is why I kind of have like that split between Apple Music and Spotify. Apple Music has one feature that I wish Spotify had, and that is live music or live playlists. Like, you'll have different performers. Like, if I pull up Apple Music right now, and I'm sitting here saying it, but then of course it's that one point where I'm like, I don't have my phone directly with me, and I lied, it's on the floor. Didn't know it. So with Apple Music, for instance, Apple Music, as soon as you open the app, they have a section called radio. Right now, the Nadeska show is on. They have DJ Spinner here to there for music hits. Usually, I'm ping-ponging between those two on a regular basis. The hits playlist, as well as just the main Music One radio. The interesting part about it is with Apple Music, if you have a free account, even if you don't do the monthly subscription, you have access to Radio One anytime. And a lot of people don't know that, but you do have that feature. One of the things I wish Apple did, and I know this is a Spotify topic, but I want to bring this to the forefront, and I'm going to spin back to Spotify as to why I'm bringing this all up. One thing that I wish Apple did or brought back is the ability to listen to what I call internet radio through their app. And what I mean by that is you have a lot of different apps such as 181.fm, 1.fm, Radio Tunes, Sky.fm, and a lot of these streaming services I'm naming, these are streaming services that got me through. This was my pre-lo-fi phase. Like, I would literally go to it used to be digitally imported.fm, and it now I think it's turned into Radio Tunes. So I may be mixing them up. I think it is, so Sky.fm got pulled. Yeah, Sky.fm turned into Radio Tunes, and then DI.fm was DI.fm. They both had a very wide variety of streaming stations. Now, those are two apps, but there are other musical options that are online that you could access within Apple Music. One other piece before I spin to the Spotify part of this. If you are a user of the Devoom speaker, a lot of people don't know this. In the Devoom app, you have access to a lot of the internet radio stations. So on mine, if I was to connect my speaker and play music from it, you would be able to hear all of your internet stations from around the world. And it's There's some good stations that don't get a lot of attention and or aren't talked about very often. And I like to give those type of stations their attention and their proper credit. So that's the reason I'm bringing that up and talking about it now. All of that being said, Spotify gets it right on the podcast part. They get it right on the music part. They get it right on the playlist part. The one thing that can give them that extra oomph is to implement live listens or live performances, live sets. For instance, and this is probably just a random spin, between Apple Music or Spotify, you don't really have anyone who gives you that option to play or listen to Ultra while it's live. Now, let's go over and get the obvious out of the way. Yes, you can go to YouTube and watch the video. Yes, you can actually attend Ultra and pay, X amount of dollars to attend. However, I may just want to actually listen to it and have it kind of as like, not even background noise, but just kind of have it. Because most of your sets for Ultra are going to have like your traditional BPMs, and it's going to mainly be in your traditional loop of music, which is nothing wrong with that. Because if you think of lo-fi, it's the same way, just at a lower bit rate, or not bit rate, but it's an 8-bit format almost, in a sense. I'm not gonna go too in depth with the lo-fi conversation because many of my friends know I'm like the lo-fi addict. But I think Spotify can take advantage of those slots, kind of almost doing like anyone that's in whatever city you're in, whatever your local radio stations are. You may listen to one station, but you might want another station to listen to from time to time. And I think the same can be accomplished, the same can be achieved when it comes to playing your music or listening to your music in regards to performances on streaming services. I mean, let's face it, you're paying X amount per month. You want to get you want to get your true money's worth, because you do get access to listening to just about any song at any time. But then it never hurts if you're like, hey, I want to listen to like some mixes and just kind of let some music play. So if you have that going, and then that can push, the presentation of other artists, new artists, indie artists, things of that nature. So all of that being said, like I said, the Spotify Live genre or the Spotify Live app is no longer. Like I said, I kind of saw this one coming, and just kind of where it's at and was to it. So want to get that out there. Coding, packing, or unpack / update. I just finished week 3. I just got kind of a visual of the new changes as far as my pay and all that. I'm there. I'm getting the hang of it, getting an understanding. Some lessons, some eye-opening things on my end that I gotta just remember to keep an eye on, but that's obviously neither here nor there. All of that being said, I'm definitely aware that, and this is gonna be one of those like, not even an aha moment, but it's like, yo, you ain't been paying attention. Like, I'm a natural overthinker with some things that don't require as much thought that I put behind them. I'm looking for no pity. I'm looking for no sorrow behind this. I'm just pointing it out as just a general statement. The reason I'm bringing that up or talking about it is because you really don't realize how much your mind is in constant go mode until you really, wow. I was like, I tried to turn it off. You really don't realize how much your mind is in constant go mode until you are put in a position to like really observe your day to day or just your typical traditional routine. I'm beginning to get a better feel for what I'm doing now. I will find that, and this is something that when you hear people do this in the coding and or tech world, it's not just a thing being done as a thing, but it's a thing being done because it's necessary. And that is, there are going to be those points and those times when you're coding or working on stuff and you just need a break to just like get up from the desk and reset. I tried to go no fan, but I had to turn it back on. But the funny thing is, and I did, so before I continue this coding thought, before I started recording, I was like, all right, I'm going to get all my stuff set up. And anyone who knows me knows when I've recorded in different locations, my traditional thing is I got to have a fan going because I'm not going to pass out or not going to struggle while I'm on show. But the interesting thing is because I've recorded so long, I can clear this up where I'm talking about the fan, but a lot of people are going to listen to it and be like, I didn't even know you had a fan on. And I still have to get used to that, even as someone who's been podcasting for this long. But anyway, I wanted to get that out there, but I digress. I'm beginning to learn my true value in what I'm capable of doing and just making sure that what I know that I can do shows up in the productivity side of things. And that's kind of where the balance, as they use the term, that's where the rubber meets the road. So I'm getting better with that and learning like how important it is to, more like I think one of my biggest things that I constantly go to, I constantly bring up is just slowing down. And I mean, we hear those terms, we know those terms, we understand how important it is to slow down, but we don't really take time to really look at why it's valuable to slow down. So that's kind of been my $1 million takeaway in regards to like my coding unpack. And like I said, you'll get more stories and get more topics of me talking about coding as I continue, as I like to call it, the coding journey. Just right now, it's still me, getting my hands dirty, kind of I won't even say getting comfortable, but just kind of finding my zone as well as finding my zen as I'm continuing this process with coding. So as I like to say frequently and often, just be patient, bear with me. I promise you it's going to all be worth it in the end. So just let it all flow and trust me, it'll all be worth it in the end. Yesterday, because I was in this like interesting space when it came to how I was going to do this podcast or what I was going to talk about. And interestingly enough, one of my friends who I consider her as like my aunt, like she's practically like the auntie of Twitter. She's been on the app for a minute, and it's crazy because like we've connected very sporadically, but when we talk, just like we were able to sit down and like really chop it up about a lot of life. And she's someone who anytime I converse with her, it always makes me understand like how valuable and how sacred DMs are. Like I know I say that all the time, but right now I really understand like that important factor of like making sure your DMs are well maintained, stuff like that. Then I got one other thing I'm gonna talk about too. So let me write that. And by the way, if y'all have not heard, and I don't talk about it enough, the Rocketbook notebooks, I think I did a podcast literally dedicated to the notebooks solely. Get one. Just get if you don't want to get like the bigger one, just get a small one, like a small notepad, or get the smaller notebook. Not your traditional 8.5 by 11, but just get one to at least get a feel for it. It comes with a pen, and you'll begin to learn how important it is to keep one with you at all times. But I want to get that out there. So I had my notebook with me, and I was out and about, and my friend who I consider auntie, I'm not going to put her handle unless we talked about it and say, hey, can I talk about this on the podcast? And I haven't. So I'm just going to say auntie. And those who follow me or those who know, if you know, basically. She put up a status. I'm going to read the status, and then I'll have a full talk on it. One of these days, does anyone know God anymore? How many of you gave him the glory for your success? I had to really sit with that when she put that status. And it wasn't even like it was subliminal or it was her coming for me or her even knowing my story or what's been going on. None of that. It was just more so like, have I really taken time to like give thanks for what I have accomplished and encountered? And as soon as I thought about it, I sat there and I was like, I really have not given the true like thankfulness, appreciation, etc., etc. And I'm blaming on, I'm not saying this, starting with this as the delivery, as in, oh, woe is me, I'm looking for pity. It's more so, I really need to understand like how I operate and how I move when it comes to my faith, my belief, my stance, etc. And, we talked about it offline, and I gave appreciation where it was deemed necessary, because it was appreciated to like read a message like that and be like, I really don't think I take time to like intently operate in the right manner. And the challenging part about a lot of things is that, yes, religion is going to be what religion is going to be. Those who have their belief religion wise, I'm 100% on board. I respect it. I'm not here to cause any tension on that field at all. From the spiritual side, and just on the level of like really sitting down and actually praying, actually being thankful, I really had to sit back and like step back a second and think about it. And I was like, I don't think I've really given thanks for what I've accomplished, or what I've been able to accomplish in I'll even say the last 2 years. And part of it is because I've been consistently in go mode and not taking time to just say thank you. So I'm going to utilize this space, and I'm really going to tell God thank you. I know I had, I may have talked about this on air, I may not have. I know I've had a verbiage where I've had a back and forth with someone who was really close to me, and we had our differences on beliefs, but it was, I think at that time, and I still say it to this day, I feel like a lot of that was and still is misinterpreted, but I can't make something make sense when someone's not seeing it. And it's also me having to be in the space to like sit with it. And I think having this conversation with my friend who I call Auntie, she was able to get me to understand it on a very personal level, to the point where I'm like, I really got to pay attention and really move and operate better. Like literally 2 years ago, I was not at the company that I'm at now. So it makes me remember and makes me understand that everything can change in an instant. And when those changes occur, we really need to give thanks. So God, right now, I really want to, on this podcast and in this opportunity, say thank you. Like, thank you for the opportunities you blessed me with through everything that has gone on. It's all, we always hear the phrase, it's worked out, but it really worked out. And normally I'm always in that position or in that mindset of like, why did it work out this way? Or what was I expecting it to work out in being? Or how should it have gone? And this, that, and the third. And it's one of those, like, it becomes one of those raw realities that you really are forced to sit with. And I'm like, I really need to like get those key foundational things back in place and realign and readjust my routine. Like, that's really where I'm at, or where I'm going with what I'm talking about right now. Like, there are things that I'm capable of doing, but I won't put my mental capacity at risk knowing that it can be done, because I become so complacent, and I don't like that at all. Like, when I say I despise it, I really and truly despise it. And now, me just sitting here talking about it now, it's really becoming like important. It makes way more sense. So like I said, one of the things I wrote, I said, why has faith fallen off? Faith fell off because I never personally sat and took time to sit with my spiritual well-being, my faith, walking in faith, knowing how far I've come, how I've been able to, this may seem small, but something as simple as being able to go to and from work and not having done an inspection in months, but still being able to like not have anything happen. Like, thank goodness. Because sometimes you can go through that, and if a cop catching you on a good day, it's like, hey, I mean, you're supposed to do your inspection in January and it's March. What's going on? So little things like that, I'm beginning to learn are important to take advantage of, like really giving thanks and really being, I won't even say the term humble, but just really sitting and being aware of where I've been compared to where I am. And there's more, there's more growth in store. And I think that's the bigger picture of it too. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Just wanted to get that out there, to you all. So please, I'm not here to tell you what to do or what not to do. You do what's in your best interest and understand what comes with it. Just take that time to really look at where you are and where you're going. I think that's the biggest thing that I want to bring to the forefront with this one is like, I'm sorry, I'm doing something that I should not be doing because obviously me and multitasking don't do very well. Anyway, oh, I know why. How am I that slow? Okay, anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna let it go because I can see what I need to see. So, as many of you have heard me say on the podcast, I have a friend who is like my little sister. We pretty much get on each other's nerves unintentionally, but at the end of the day, we always are there to see each other, win and support. We're using the Freeform app that is on Apple. And I will be the first to admit a lot of the updates I value since I've gotten a new Mac. But the one update that I'm really like grasping and really holding close to is Freeform, because we were able to make a collab Freeform board, which is, in the easiest way to put it, it's like an extended vision board. Like you can pretty much put anything on the board that will, be a reminder, retain information. If it's like pictures, collages, whatever, you can make all of it and just add to it as you feel fit. Well, we both put our Fab 5, and I did a Fab 5 update based on today. Actually, I did it probably a couple hours before recording this show. So my Fab 5 for today, you may as well say the weekend. Mental is at about an 8. Like I said, I think between having a conversation yesterday as well as just me sitting and kind of bringing things back to the forefront of like the true foundation, it's definitely brought more energy. It's an 8. Professional is an 8. It's increased now based on just knowing that I truly, if I didn't belong where I'm at, I wouldn't be there. So it's beginning to get me to understand, like, I see it and I get it now. So now it's like, I got to show up. And it ain't even me showing up like I got to show up for everybody else. It's me showing up because I need to show up and like almost on a direct verbiage of show and prove type of thing. So that's why I'm giving that an 8. Personal, yeah, I know it's gonna be a little lower, and it's kind of gonna shock people that it's like a 7, but it's not horrible. It's just more so. There's like anything, it's always room for growth, and it's just me trying to like personally piece things together as I'm used to doing. Creative is a 7. I had a well-deserved conversation this morning that put me in a stronger mindset of like knowing what I need to do and how I need to go about doing it. So that that made things change for the better. So definitely, valuing that for what it's worth. And my feeling is peaceful, just very peaceful, very calm, very relaxed, very sane, just kind of putting things on in the place that they belong. So that's where I'm at with those and kind of what's going on. Hang on a sec. pass the message. The message I'm going to pass along to you all today. Don't get rattled from your why or your focal point. Once you can understand what that focal point is, what you're trying to do, how you're trying to go about doing it, who you're going to need to get you to where you're trying to go, it all begins to make sense. It becomes a domino effect without you realizing that it's the domino effect. And that's kind of become like the eye-opening revelation that I've had over the last few days. I'm not even gonna say last few weeks. Last few days, literally, it's kind of been like that indirect aha, like, oh, this is what you mean. This is what we're talking about. This is the verbiage of what we need to do and what I need to do and how to go about, building upon and improving upon what is and where I've been and where I was and where I'm trying to go and stuff like that. So I'm learning now to not take those simple things for granted. And you just have to kind of, at times, even when we don't want to do it, we sometimes need to be reeled back into what our focal point is. Because then that helps us zoom in. And y'all, you've heard me talk about this a lot. The times of having to zoom in, we need to zoom out to really look at everything. Then once we look at everything, then we can kind of zoom in on what we need to focus on. And once we focus on that thing, it kind of inadvertently becomes like a genuine domino effect. So take that time to like really look at it all, because once you get and make sense of it all, the bigger picture becomes what it needs to be. And then you're put in a position to like really know what you're trying to do and how you want to go about doing it. So that's my message I got for y'all today. I hope y'all have an amazing day. Hope you have an amazing weekend. If you celebrated, Good Friday, happy Easter to those who celebrate. Hopefully spring break, if you had it last week, hopefully spring break went well for you. If you were a parent, if you were in school, not sure how the college flow goes, but whatever the case may be, just strive for greatness and don't let anybody stop you. Until next time, this is the Past signing out. Y'all take it easy. Another episode is completed. Thank you all for listening. If you want to check out the podcast, you can go to buzzsprout.com. If you're looking to do podcasts, you can go to buzzsprout.com. To get to my podcast, you'll go to the pastbtpod.buzzsprout.com. If you're looking at getting a microphone, I always suggest getting the Blue Yeti X. That is the microphone that I use. If you're starting off and you need something more affordable, Samson Meteor, it's a worthwhile investment. And there are other microphones that are going to be simple enough. My big suggestion I tell everyone whenever looking for a microphone, be sure that your microphone has the ability to have you listen to your audio or listen to yourself as you're talking. It will make a big difference in your editing and your podcast. Also, most importantly, and I tell people this is a tip offline, but I'm giving this in the final listen or at the end of the show. Drink water while recording, and also just drink water in general. But drink water while you're recording, and the reason why, you'll be surprised. All right. See y'all on the next show.